Welcome back out to the range for another episode of Range Time with CJ. Today I'm out here with this beauty. This is a Uberti reproduction of an 1858 Remington cap and ball revolver. It's very loaded at the moment with 30 grains of 3F black powder. And I mean real black powder, none of that Pyrex crap. Now, let's see if I can hit anything with it. Should be smoky. Woo! It's one deceased 2-liter. And another one. You see if I can smack that white plate up there. Oh yeah. How about a yellow plate? Oh yeah. Man, I love that flash of light that comes off this thing. That's awesome. Very nice, very nice. I've got one shot left. Let's hit the 12-inch plate up there again. Woo! So I mentioned earlier this revolver's been loaded for over 2 years. Real quick, let's shoot it and see if it goes bang all 6 times. And see how accurately it does it. That's a target posted at 25 yards down there. I do remember my loading. It was 30 grains of 3F black powder with a hand-lubed fiber wad, a Hornady 454 round ball, and a CCI number 11 Magnum percussion cap. See what happens. All right, so after being loaded for 2 years, stored in not the most ideal conditions, by the way. This thing's been carried, it's been through temperature fluctuations, it's been in environments with moisture, so see what happens. Now, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't just a little bit nervous because I haven't had this gun out to the range in over 2 years. And black powder and percussion caps is a whole different beast. So, here we go. Oh yeah. There we go. All right. That was all 6. Let's go check out that target. Well, look at that. That is kind of unbelievable. I mean, I guess I was firing from a rest and all that, but man, look how good of a group that is. That's 4 hits right there. This one off to the right might have just been me, but this one that's high and left, that felt like a good shot to me and seemed like it sort of flew. Definitely a flyer, but wow, in no particular order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And there it is compared to my hand for reference. Wow. So I'm honestly pretty surprised that that gun went off all 6 times and was able to shoot that accurately. Now, it's been a couple of years since I've fired this particular gun, so maybe my memory is a little fuzzy on what exactly it felt like, but to me, it felt like after sitting for a while that it definitely lost a little bit of its power. Didn't feel all that strong. The percussion caps didn't explode like I'm used to. But, you know, that speaks quite a bit to the relative reliability of these guns. Obviously, cartridge guns are way more reliable because a cartridge is sealed against the elements a lot better than something like this is. If you get an ounce of moisture anywhere near black powder, you're going to have issues with it going off. I learned that the hard way when I took this gun out to shoot in a light rain one time. I mean, a very light rain. Didn't happen. But that says a lot not only about these guns, but also about my ability to load them well, because I must have had it sealed up pretty good for all 6 of those chambers to be able to go off without a hitch. Anyway, if you can't tell, I'm a little bit pleased by that performance. You know, if I had to press this gun into service and, you know, pull it out and use it, it would have done fine. It would have gone off all 6 times. So I feel good about that. Anyway, let me show you how to load this thing back up, and then we'll do some more shooting. So I'm going to go ahead and show you my loading procedure for one of these firearms. And nothing I say here today should be inferred as a recommendation or me telling you what to do or what you should do. This is just how I load my guns. And I have fired this gun about 100 times, and I've never experienced a chain fire. So I am pretty confident in my loading technique. That, and I did learn it from the late, great Mr. Paul Harrell, who I have a lot of respect for and think he's right about most of the stuff he talks about. Although, ironically, half the stuff he says isn't a recommendation, although I took it that way anyway. But let's get to it. So, first thing you want to do is place the gun on half cock. That's going to allow the cylinder to spin freely during the loading sequence. Now, I've already got 2 of these chambers loaded. So, first step is measure out a charge. In this case, 20 grains. This flask right here has a 20 grain spout. And the way it works is, this is a valve. So you push that valve in, tip it upside down, cover the tip with your finger, measure out your charge, and then release the valve, upturn it, and there's 20 grains of black powder measured out. So go ahead and powder up your chamber. The next thing you're going to want is a wad over your powder. I just use these little fiber wads, and I always lube them up. Lubing them does 2 things. The first thing it does is help prevent a chain fire, which is where more than one chamber goes off at one time. Helps seal that chamber. And the other thing is it gives you a little bit of space, takes up a little bit of space to make sure that you can get your ball pushed all the way down against the powder. So go ahead and place the fiber wad in the top of your chamber. Grab a bullet. And it's not a bad thing at all to make sure there's some of this black powder lube on your bullet as well. Place that on top of the wad. Then rotate that all under the rammer assembly, which is this lever here. And then use this lever to push the ball all the way down as far as it'll go. Make sure it's good and tight. And then you simply repeat that 6 times, which I'll do now and hopefully fast forward for you. So the next thing I'll show you is the procedure for priming your chambers. In other words, putting a percussion cap on them. These ones are CCI number 11 caps, or number 11 Magnum caps. Each gun's different. These are the ones that work for my gun, but if you find that these number 11s are too big and kind of loose, you might need to go to a number 10 cap, which is slightly smaller and will fit tighter on the nipple. But you're just simply going to lightly, gently place a percussion cap on each of your 6 nipples. Never push a percussion cap down on a nipple with your thumb, because there's a chance, albeit a very low chance, that if you do that, that cap could go off. And if that happens with a loaded chamber, your thumb will never be the same, and you could injure your left hand as well. So once I've placed the cap on all 6 chambers, there's another very important step, which I'll get to in the next cut. And this is a step that a lot of people leave out, and I think that it's the most important step. So let's get to that step. So now we get to the most important step of the loading sequence, in my opinion, which is seating the caps. Now, some people do this with like a pencil eraser or some soft implement that they'll use to push these percussion caps down onto the nipples. I already mentioned why you don't want to use your thumb to do that, but the easiest and most simple way to do it, in my opinion, is to simply use the gun's hammer to seat the caps. So when you do this, I can't overstate the importance of making sure the gun is pointed in a safe direction. That direction is downrange. We've got the gun pointed down at some nice, soft, sandy soil, so on the very minute chance that the gun goes off while this is happening, nothing unsafe is going to happen. It'll be okay if the gun goes off. And all you're going to do is simply use the gun's hammer to make sure those caps are seated down on the nipples. There's 1, there's 2, and the reason you do this is to seal the cylinder from the backside, which helps prevent chain fires. You want to seal the gun against the elements. That's 3. And 4, make sure the caps don't fall off the nipples while you're shooting. 5, 6. Now, this step's important because if your caps aren't well seated on the nipples, you will experience a malfunction. Whether it's a cap falling off an unfired chamber, meaning you'll have to recap it before you can shoot that chamber, or a chain fire from the nipple side, which would be if a spark jumps from one chamber to the next and sets off 2 chambers at the same time. That's something you don't want to happen. And the other thing is to keep moisture out of the chambers. Okay, once your caps are all well seated, you see this cylinder has these little safety notches in between each chamber. Don't leave the hammer rested down on a cap on a live chamber. That's a dangerous situation. So before this gun's ready to holster, pull the hammer back a little bit and get it rested on one of those safety notches in between the chamber. So that way, if something bumps the back of your hammer, your gun's not going to inadvertently go off. Once you have the hammer rested in one of these safety notches, like it is now, you're ready to put the gun in your holster, and off you go. Alrighty, now that we did all that work of getting this thing loaded up, how about we take out a few targets, like a 1-liter soda bottle. How about a white soda bottle? And a blue one? All right. How about a yellow plate? Very nice. How about that chunk of a cinder block hanging there? Very nice. If I'm not mistaken, I've got 1 round left. So I'll hit that big white plate up there. Now that is way too much fun. Look how dirty that thing is. I love the smell of black powder, by the way. It smells glorious. Look at the smoke coming out of the barrel. That is a thing of beauty. All right, I've got this baby loaded back up. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit through that again. But anyway, I've got it loaded up with 30 grains of black powder behind our round ball this time. I was using 20 grains before, and that felt just a little bit weak. I mean, didn't even crack that piece of concrete. So, let's see what happens this time with a little bit of a heavier charge. I'll shoot the purple 1 liter first. Oh yeah, that's got quite a bit more pop to it. Quite a bit more smoke, too. This thing seems so weak compared to the 44 Magnum I'm used to shooting. All right, let's try that cinder block again. There we go. Quite a bit more power with 30 grains. It actually cracked it apart. Okay, let's try a steel plate. Oh! Woo! Yeah, that's quite a bit more power, I'll tell you what. All right, now the white plate. Woo! Yeah, I'm definitely going to be using a 30 grain charge from now on. Man, that is so much fun. Again, smoky. I think I might nickname this thing the smoke wagon. That's a little bit cliche, but smoke is what it does. I just realized I actually have one more shot. I got excited and lost count. This thing does get sticky. Black powder is very dirty. Let's blow some smoke. Woo! Smoky. All right. Let's blast some stuff. How about a turkey? I'm gonna get you, Mr. Turkey. Dead. How about a couple of chunks of cinder? How about a chunk of wood? Think I can hit that? Of course I can. How about a little piggy on his way to the market? I've only got one shot left. The pressure's on. Oh, I missed him. Dang it. Don't worry. He's not getting away. Oh, I hit him. Dead center, but he didn't fall down. I have to give him one more. Ah, I hit him right at the top of the back. Wouldn't fall over. Unfortunate. All right, let's put our last few rounds on this target right here. Think I'm out. Yeah, I'm out. I don't want to dry fire this. Well, that's not bad. 10 yards away or whatever. Man, that pig. You make me angry, Mr. Piggy. Now, just for shits and giggles, let's see if I can load this thing up in any kind of reasonable amount of time. Just to give you an idea of how long these things take to load. All right, let's go for it. Feel free to time me, but I'm not going to do it. By the way, if you're wondering why my hand is blue, No, I didn't have any cozy time with a Smurf. I just had a mishap with some food coloring. I had it shipped and it bursted open in the box. Should have figured that would happen. Okay, all 6 chambers are powdered, even though it's not really necessary. It's pretty necessary. Doing all my wads. Okay, now my balls. Tee-hee, tee-hee. Talking about balls and nipples a lot today. You imagine doing this on a battlefield? Man, our ancestors put up with some shit, didn't they? All right, we are now all loaded up. Wipe a little bit of this grease off my hands. Now time to cap up. I'm giving these caps a little bit of a squish. Kind of squeezing them a little bit to make sure they stay on. You know, if I don't do that, sometimes they fall off. Okay, I'm all capped up. Time to seat them. Pointed in a safe direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now very important. Put my cylinder safety notch. Put my hammer on my safety notch. I think ready to go. All right. It wouldn't be a range time video if I didn't get you in here behind this gun and get the camera on the sights. Now, I don't know how well that's going to work out because the sights on this gun are shiny. I don't know if the camera is going to want to focus on them. Might miss, but try anyway. I can barely see that sight through the camera. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. There we go. I got it. Not as quick as I normally am. Maybe I just needed a little practice. Try and get the white plate up top. Yeah, I hit it. Okay, go for a yellow plate. Nice. Got one shot left. Oh, that actually worked out okay. Only missed once. So you can see the caps on these guns pretty much just explode and fly off when you shoot. I still got one stuck on there. There it goes. But it's kind of nice because you can actually tell how many shots you have left a lot of times by looking at your caps. If you're curious the kind of damage it did to this 1 liter soda bottle, really not much. There's a hole right here and then a hole out the back. Definitely pretty weak compared to stuff I'm used to, like 10mm and 44 Magnum. Well, that was entirely too much fun. I don't know if you could tell by my excitement throughout the video, but I find shooting black powder to be incredibly enjoyable. Losing light now, so it's time to wrap it up. But in conclusion, man, this thing did great today. after being loaded for 2 years straight, it fired all 6 rounds without a hitch. And throughout the whole day of shooting today, I don't know how many rounds I fired. You could count them up and post that in the comments if you wanted to. But this thing didn't have one hiccup. Man, what a beautiful gun. It's all dirty and crusty now, but I'm realizing I kind of failed to get you a good close-up of it. So let's have a look at her. This is an older gun. I think it was made in 1977, if I'm reading the date code right. But these revolvers were very popular with soldiers of both sides during the Civil War. This was state-of-the-art at the time, although antiquated by our perspective today. Being able to fire 6 shots in a sequence without having to reload was an amazing advancement in technology. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this trip out to the range with me. I hope you shared some of the fun that I got to experience with this revolver. But before you consider getting one of your own, not really for the faint of heart. To use one of these, you got to pay attention. You got to know what you're doing. You got to do everything in the right order. It's not like a modern revolver where you buy a box of cartridges, you drop them in, and off you go. Anyway, I get to go enjoy the Herculean task of cleaning this thing. If you didn't know, the residue that black powder leaves behind is salty and highly corrosive, and you have to clean these guns very thoroughly and immediately after shooting. If you let them sit even overnight, they can end up rusty. This is a stainless one, so it's a little bit more forgiving than the ones that are made out of blued steel. But that's what I get to go do, and it's going to be fun. It takes about an hour. Anyway, time for me to sign off. I'll see you next time. Hopefully with a black powder rifle next time. Maybe even this one right here. Little teaser. This is a Traditions Deer Hunter 50 caliber. That is going to be fun. So stay tuned.